Today, I want to talk about 10 ways that music fans can support the artists and record labels that they love. Now, if you're a musician or a record label watching this, you're like, okay, why are you telling me this? Why are you preaching to the choir? I think this is a good exercise for us to go through these things, even if you're not just a music fan. Of course, all of us are music fans, but I think there's two things. First of all, as a record label and as artists, we are also music fans, so we can support artists in the same way that they can support us. And if you're just a music fan watching this, and I know some of our viewers and listeners to the podcast are just music fans, they don't run record labels and they're not even independent musicians, this is really geared to you to show you some really simple ways that you can support the artists that you love and the record labels that you love. And if you've ever read Atomic Habits by James Clear, great book, by the way, but you understand that all these things I'm talking about, some of them are obvious. Some of them are very, very simple and small things. But when you add up all of these things together, it can have a really significant impact on an artist. And when multiple people add up all these little things, it can have a really significant impact on record labels and artists. Let's dive in. Oh, and by the way, if you stay tuned to the end, I've got 5 things that record labels and artists need to be doing to make it easier for fans to support us. Okay, we're going to remove the friction because it's surprisingly, a lot of you guys make it difficult. Okay, 10 ways that fans can support artists. Number 1 is to reshare social media posts. And so if you follow an artist on social media, especially on Twitter, it's really nice to retweet stuff for 2 reasons. Number 1, you can also take an Instagram post and share it in your stories. But I'll tell you why, and you can do it on Facebook as well if you're still there. So I'll tell you why. There's 2 reasons. Number 1, it's subconsciously or consciously, it's an encouraging thing to do to an artist. Even if it doesn't have a financial impact or it doesn't help them grow in any way, it's actually just something really encouraging because for us as promoters, we think that our audience is getting tired of us and annoyed, and we feel like we're preaching into the void. We're just yelling into the Grand Canyon and nobody is listening to us. And so to have somebody actually like a post and then to retweet it, it's a huge deal. But the second reason is that it actually expands our reach. So if I have 100 followers and I tweet something out, it gets seen by 100 people. But if those 100 followers also have 100 followers and they all retweet it, well, then how big is it getting? And I'm lost now. I don't know the math, but it's big, right? And those numbers are even bigger. So it's hugely impactful when you retweet something, especially on a new release day, or if the artist is like releasing a new line of merch or going on tour, announcing all these tour dates, or they're coming out with a new music video they want people to share. When you actually retweet something or reshare something, it's really important, much more than just a like or a heart. Okay, number 2, put their new songs on your personal Spotify playlist. And so if you use other apps, this works too. But on a Spotify playlist, it can really help the algorithm and help Spotify know, oh, real people, real humans that aren't connected to this artist are listening to this music. They're hearting it, which means adding it to their library, and they're physically dragging it across and dropping it on playlists. And those little actions can really add up. And so even if it's arbitrary, even if you don't use Spotify playlists regularly, you can still just drag it and add it to a Spotify playlist. And I think it could really help. Number 3, and this is a little bit of an idea for independent artists and for record labels. So if you, I've seen this work, 2 friends of mine do this really, really well. Basically, this artist has like a group chat, and it's like they mass text like 30 or 40 of their closest friends, maybe only 10 or 20, it doesn't matter. Or they'll do like a big DM, or they'll copy and paste and DM a bunch of people on release day and say, I have a new record out today. Would you mind just like personally sharing about it on your story? Not retweeting, but actually making an organic, unique post on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. This can have a huge impact. And so for you, if you're an artist and you're watching this, or a record label, you're watching this, what you do is on release day, you could do a group text, or you could copy and paste the same message to a bunch of people. In that message, you say, I have a new album out today, or a new EP, or a new music video. I really want to expand the reach. Here's a link to it. Here's a graphic for it, whatever you're going to provide them. I would really appreciate if you shared it from your own profile. It means more than just me as an artist sharing it. I've seen artists do that, and like a dozen or so of their friends post about it, and it just floods people's feeds. And it's really effective because it's organic. Number 4, advocate on behalf of your favorite artists. So for artists, not only do we feel like we're annoying our audience, but it's really cringy to have to promote ourselves. It's the worst part of this job. We just want to make music and write songs. And instead we have to like pitch ourselves and send photos of ourselves and bios that are written by us, but we pretend they're in third person. It's just really awkward. And so when we have fans who go to the local record store and say, can you please carry this record? Or I'd rather order this record from my local record store than buying it online or on Amazon. And so when we have fans who do that, or they go to local promoters and say, you should bring this band through town. Or in the old days, used to call radio stations asking for this artist. And today that would be like calling a college radio station, or maybe even, messaging a curator on YouTube, or messaging a curator on Spotify and saying, you should really include this artist. They're a friend of mine, and I think they're really good. That goes much further than the artists themselves doing it. Plus, it's just really meaningful. Number 5, buying merch or high margin items. And so when you stream music on Spotify, that's really great. Really appreciate that. That's awesome. But when you buy a digital download on Bandcamp, the artist collects like about 90% of that, and they don't have to go ship a record. It's an incredibly high margin product, and that can really financially help the artist. Same thing with certain merch items like hoodies, might be $40 or something. That can be really significant. When you buy music at shows, it's huge because Bandcamp's not taking a cut, PayPal's not taking a cut, Spotify's not taking a cut. You don't have to ship the record. You don't have to buy boxes or padding. So when you buy a t-shirt at the show, it's like pure cash for an artist. Same with a CD, cassette, vinyl. Look for ways, even donating money, look for ways that you can buy like a high margin item. Okay. Number 6, donating on you can donate or overpay. And so on Bandcamp, most artists let you overpay for an album. And I'll tell you this, it blows my mind. But when I'm releasing a new record, usually on release day or release week, I would say 50 to 60% of my music fans pay more than I've asked for the record. So if it's a digital download and I'm listing it for $7 or $8, people will pay $10. If it's a CD that I'm selling for $12, some people will bump it up to 15 or bump it up to 20 even. Same with vinyl. Some people will buy a free download for $50 because the option is there and they just want to show their appreciation and their thanks. So if you're a music fan, doing that is really huge margins. It's just very encouraging and financially helpful as well. You can also just donate. Some people have this like little button on their Spotify page, and Spotify doesn't take a cut from that. It just goes straight into their PayPal. People have done that to me twice, and I'm like, where did this money come from? And it's just really nice, I really like that. Number 7, buying exclusive content for the artist. And so this is speaking a little bit more towards the label and the artist. You need to create exclusive content. I'll give you an example. This Friday is Bandcamp Friday, where artists keep 100% of the proceeds. I'm coming up with this idea. It's almost like an NFT, but not, where I'm taking these demos from my previous record, and they're iPhone demos. They're very cringy. They're embarrassing. There's no lyrics. It's just me mumbling melodies. I have a demo for all 10 songs from my previous record. So I've kind of like mastered them a little bit and gave them artwork. And I'm creating this digital album that I'm going to sell for like maybe $10 on Bandcamp Friday, but just for one day. So I'm creating an exclusive product. So if you're a music fan, look for some of these exclusive products. Maybe it's a test pressing, and they're maybe a little bit more high priced, but you get this like really meaningful object or something that not a lot of people have, or maybe you're the only one person who has it, and it can really support and encourage the artist. Number 8 is, people do this all the time. It's really nice. Sending a message to the artist, like a personal message, just saying, I'm listening to your music and it's the soundtrack to my summer, or it's really peaceful, helping me wake up in the morning. I really love this record. I try to do this a lot because I do it publicly too. I just tweet to everybody and say, I'm really enjoying this record. Or I DM someone and saying, this album, I did it to someone this summer because I just discovered them randomly on Bandcamp. And the album became my album of the summer. I listened to it nonstop. Incredible summer record. And I just messaged them. And now we're friends and we are working together. It's great. But I messaged them and just said, this is my favorite album. You did a great job. And of course, that's financially, that doesn't pay the bills, but it's really meaningful. And one of those messages could really propel them for another couple of years. I mean, an artist can live multiple years, not literally live, but can thrive off of encouragement. So do that. The other thing I'll mention, this leads into the second one, but it also relates to the last one, is that people don't know what you're listening to, right? The general public doesn't know what you're listening to. And so if you're obsessed with an album, unless you're talking to your friends about it or you're tweeting about it, which is great, most people don't know. And so we need to know. And it's important that the artist knows, hey, this was somebody's favorite album of the summer, or this is a record that people have been using to meditate or to do yoga for the past couple of years. I didn't realize that. So don't assume that people know what you're listening to. You should tell the people. Number 9, talk about it. Talk about the artist on social media. Put out these random posts and say, yeah, I loved this record. This was really meaningful. That can go a long way. And then finally, number 10 is leave a review or leave a comment. If the artist has a new music video out, they have a YouTube channel, you can leave a comment there, like and subscribe. That's a big thing. In the old days, iTunes reviews were kind of good. I don't think they matter anymore. If there's anywhere maybe on Amazon, you can leave a review. That's really helpful. So let's go back over these really quick. I'm going to post these on otherrecordlabels.com. On the main page, we have like all of our featured articles, tons of helpful things for independent musicians and for record labels. And I'm going to post this article here. You'll find it there on otherrecordlabels.com. Retweet the artist's social media posts. Put the songs on your own personal Spotify playlist. Be a part of a digital street team, if you will, with your artist. Advocate on your artist's behalf in real life, like with venue promoters and record stores and radio stations. Buy merch or high margin items. Donate or overpay for records. Buy exclusive content if the artist makes it available, like test pressings or lyric books. Send a private message or a thank you note to the artist privately. That can be really encouraging. Talk about the artist on social media, unprovoked. Just randomly say, I've been listening to this record a lot. You should check it out. And then leave a review or a comment wherever that's helpful. If they have a Yelp page, you could leave a review there. Okay, so if you're a record label and you're an artist, before I let you go, there are 5 things that you can do to make it easier for fans to support you. Because I'll tell you, if I discover an artist on Bandcamp and I go there and I'm like, I want to go and give them a shout out on social media, I can't tag them. I can't find them because they don't post their links. Or maybe on social media, I'm following them and I want to buy a record, but I can't find it where to buy the vinyl. I don't know if they have a Bandcamp. So make sure you make that easy. But there's 5 things you can do. Number 1, ask for support. Just simply ask for support. Some people just don't know that they should support you or that they should help you out. So just ask. Number 2 is to remind them that you exist. We had a label on the podcast a couple of months ago called ATA Records, and they do email marketing really well. And they send a monthly blast, sometimes twice a month. And it doesn't bother me. It doesn't annoy me. I don't always open it. But I'll tell you what, I think about this label more than any other label. Why do I think about them? Because they show up in my inbox. And I just see them and I'm like, oh, cool, they're working hard. And so I'm just reminded of them. And I think that labels and artists don't worry about being annoying. And social media is okay, but social media kind of just like gets all kind of blurry and whatever. But remind people that you exist. You can send them messages, create content regularly, weekly, monthly, and send email newsletters. So like, oh yeah, I forgot about that artist, or I wasn't thinking today about that record label. You, as an artist and a record label, are thinking about your career every single day, multiple times a day. But believe it or not, people aren't thinking about you every single day or multiple times a day. And so it's okay to just show up and be like, hi, I exist. Number 3, tell them where support matters the most. And now I don't know what that is for you. It could be merch. It could be your Bandcamp store because that's where the highest margin is. But for some of you, you have a YouTube channel and your YouTube channel is what matters the most. And so you might want to draw people to come and subscribe and to like your videos. And so that might be where most of your promotional effort is. So just tell the audience, just say, listen, we're putting a big push on Spotify. Please like these songs, save them to your library, add them to your playlist, follow our artists on Spotify. Maybe that's a really big deal for you because that's where you see the most revenue. Maybe it's YouTube, maybe it's TikTok, whatever it is. You should know that. Number 4, offer unique items. I've told you before, I have this test pressing. It's over there. You can't see it. By one of my favorite artists who we actually got to have on our label, JP Haney. This album is one of my favorite albums of all time. It's in my top 5 records. And I'll tell you, I was able to get a test pressing of this record. And it's one of my most meaningful objects because it's a test pressing of one of my favorite albums. And so for record labels and artists, you need to make these things available, because I've been experimenting a little bit with these rare items and people buy them. People buy test pressings for a high ticket price, like $40 or $50, because they want to feel like they have this like exclusive, intimate connection with the artist. And so that could be a handwritten note, could be lyrics, it could be in-person events, a Zoom call. I don't know what it is, but it's something you should experiment with. And finally, provide value. If someone supports you out of guilt, that's not sustainable. People want to support record labels and artists that bring value to their life. This is a record label here. I've done a video about it. I'll show you another time. But Hotham Sound, and this record is by a band called MIDI Janitor. And I just really liked the artwork of this cassette. And the music is great, don't get me wrong, but I really liked the artwork. And so I bought it. And I actually buy a lot of records based on their artwork alone because I just think it's cool. It's a cool cultural artifact that I like having in my house. I have a lot of vinyl that just looks really pretty, and I put it on display. That's meaningful to me. And so you, as a record label, need to know. Think about your consumer. Think about your customer avatar. What is it that they appreciate? It could actually be a social justice issue, and that you use all of the money to support a certain marginalized group of people. That could be what brings them value. It could be cool looking tapes that brings them value. I don't know what that is for you. You need to find that out and make sure that you are releasing products that bring value to people's lives, because then I buy this tape selfishly. I don't buy this out of guilt. I buy records selfishly because I think they're cool and I want them in my collection. And so if people are buying stuff from you selfishly because your record label makes them feel good or confirms their identity, then that's a big deal. If they're just like friends who are just buying out of guilt, that's not going to last. So we need to shift from guilt to selfishness. Okay. I hope you found this helpful. Go to otherrecordlabels.com. Thank you to all of the music fans out there who support record labels and support artists. And thank you to all the artists who are making art.